Hello.
Hello.
Kim and Mila here, trying to help you out with your rug project. So we're going to do a little bit of a demo, and hopefully it will answer your questions.
All right, we're working on our baby wolf, and we have got it set up to weave on only 2 shafts. So if we take a look here, we've got shaft 1 is involved and shaft 2. And one thing that you will notice about these patterns is we have set them up to be symmetrical so that when you're weaving columns, the selvages will be the same. In order to have that effect in these patterns, both of our selvages raise when shaft 2 is raised. So we've got right side selvage on shaft 2, left side selvage on shaft 2. You will also notice on this loom setup that the ends of twine are doubled. So 2 twine and 2 ends are going through the heddle, and those same 2 ends go through the same dent in our reed. We've tried a few different rug patterns, and we have found a nice combination of doubling the number 12 seine twine, because this is a finer end, or using a single end of size number 9. For these patterns where we have decided to tie knotted fringe at the end, we found that the doubled size 12, because you're tying knots with more ends, for example, maybe you're using three clumps or 6 ends, it'll make a little bit of a cuter puff of fringe versus if you only have 3 single ends of the number 9. But as far as rug integrity, how it will lay flat, both of these options work really well. When it comes to setting that up through the reed, in this one, we have 2 ends, 2 ends, 2 ends, 2 ends. In a buddy system, they're acting like 4 ends. If you were using the size number 9 twine, you're also at 4 ends per inch. So once you're ready to weave your rug and you've got your warp beam, you're tied onto the apron rod, first step is to weave your header. So generally this will involve weaving 2, 3, 5 inches to get your warp spread out, because when you first tie on, it's going to be a bit narrower. So you want to get your warp spread out. This is also an opportunity to check for any errors. So do you have any threading errors where you've gone through the wrong heddle or the wrong shaft? Or do you have any areas where you've missed a dent, or maybe you put 2 ends too close together? So your header is both a check on how you've set up your threading and your slaying, and it is also an opportunity to get your warp threads evenly spread out. We have found with the rugs that width consistency at the beginning of your rug will be improved if your header actually has wrapped over the front beam. Because this is a weft-faced weaving structure, the goal within the pattern is to not be able to see any of your warp. So we don't want to be able to see any of the twine. When you're starting your header, you may find that for the first couple of inches, you're still seeing the twine show through, and this can indicate a few things. It might be that you just need to weave a little bit further, because as you weave, you continue to pack in the weft with each beat, so that may go away the further you weave. It can also mean that you may not be beating hard enough. So that can be a check that if you've woven 2 or 3 inches of header and you're still seeing twine through your web here on the loom, that you've got to beat tighter. If after you've woven your header and you're beating with all of your might and you're still showing through, one thing that can help to keep that beat a little bit tighter is to switch your shed. So maybe I'll do a quick example of that. So we'll start this. I'm just tucking my end around. So you can see here that first pick, we can still see some warp. And so we'll switch sheds. And I'm pulling quite hard, but we can still see a little bit of warp. But as we go, that will start to pack in and go away. You'll also notice that if I beat on an open shed and release, you'll see it showing through. However, if we throw a pick beat and switch sheds, that sort of locks it in a little better. So that can be a tip as well to help your weft pack in tighter with each beat, is to switch the shed before you release the beater. We're going around, and same thing. To secure this tail, we're gonna wrap it around the selvage and then stick it in 2 or 3 ends and beat that in. Sometimes you'll find that this will stick out like that. Easily fixable, just grab the tail from behind and snug it in. So now we're ready to complete our simple stripe. And this is a fun one to do. You can really get into a groove and do stripes quickly. There's no shuttle management. You're just going right to left, changing shafts in between. So we go back to shaft 2, we pass it, beat, switch. Now we're going the other way. And while we're doing this, we want to be fairly consistent in that we're holding our shuttle at an angle. So if we're not holding at an angle and we're going kind of flat, you'll find that this selvage on the right side is going to get pinched in with your weaving. So by keeping it at an angle, you're giving the weft pick a little bit more freedom, a little bit more give. And if we combine that with beating on an open shed, this weft end is free to go over, under, over, under, over, under as the beater comes back. So we've got our angle, open shed, and then we can switch to the next one. And so for a simple stripe, this is all we're doing. When you're ready to end this one again, the same principle applies. So let's say we're ending this here on shaft 1. We'll beat it, but we'll leave shaft 1 raised and go back through the selvage, around the selvage, and then into the shed and back out a couple ends. So that end is secure and you would be ready for the next part of your pattern or another stripe. These patterns, because they're symmetrical and the selvages are the same, first things is to decide which color you want to be wrapping your selvage. So in this example, we're going to have the green cactus color wrap our selvage. And so we would lift shaft 1. And if we look over here, because our selvages are on shaft 2, when shaft 1 is raised, shaft 2 is not. And so the effect of that is the green is going to be over top, and that can show you that the green is going to be your selvage color. So because we're starting an end, we're going to wrap and tuck that tail. Created a little loop, so we'll give it a bit of a snug. And so you can see we're going to have green wrapping the selvage here, and green is going to wrap the selvage on this side as well. Now we're ready to add our second color. So we switch. Now shaft 2 is raised. And what we want is we want our second color, the one not on the selvage, to be chasing the selvage color. So we are going to start it on the same side, which was the right side in this example. But you could start on the left. So if you were starting on the left, you just want to start with the selvage color and have the second one chase. So in this example, we started our green selvage color on the right. So we want our purple selvage color to also start on the right so that it is chasing or following the green shuttle. So we're gonna tuck our tail again on this side as well. We do not want the purple to be visible on the selvage because that would ruin the column effect. So in this one, we were on, let me undo this here. So we had shaft 2 raised, beat that in, and we're staying in shaft 2, but for the effects of this tail tuck, we are not choosing the very outer selvage, we're choosing the very outer one, the lower shed. So same concept, we're wrapping around it and going back in, but when we snug this in, that tail and that selvage tuck isn't gonna go around the very outer selvage. So now we get into the first step of managing 2 shuttles and managing the effects on the selvage. So we're going back to the green shuttle. So we got to switch sheds, go back to shaft 1 being raised. And I have a couple of choices. I can go under the purple thread, or I can go over. For this one, we're gonna go over. And because of this, if I were just to go straight back into this selvage, or sorry, into the shed, you can see the green is not catching the selvage as we want. So we have to deliberately catch that end by tucking the nose under that first end on the lower shed. So then we go back through, and now we can see green is wrapping the selvage, that purple end is out of the way, and will be the back. We're gonna switch sheds. So shaft 2 is raised, and our purple follower, easy peasy, he's just going through like normal. And we can start to see now the very first effects of the column. You can still see a little bit of the warp end through, that's gonna pack in as we keep going, but we're starting to see a green column and a purple column. So we're gonna go back over to the right, and same thing, we've got some choices. So the green could go underneath or over, and in this case, same thing, we're going over. But what's gonna be different about this one is that if we have to do the nose tuck again, but if we just did the nose tuck, our selvage is gonna look a little thin because you're gonna start to see this outer end. And the reason for that is we've done 4 picks, right? Green, purple, and we're starting our 5th pick. But for 5 picks that have occurred, you're only wrapping the selvage twice. And if you were to do your whole pattern like this and all of your columns, you would have a sparse wrapping of the selvage, and your outer end is going to be visible. So I'm going to redo that pick. So undo my nose dive here. So we're back where we started. The purple is underneath, green is on top. So not only do I do 1 nose dive, I come back out and I do a 2nd nose dive. The effect of this is we can see we've got kind of a curling wrap where we've looped around the selvage. And when we tuck that in, you're thickening up the wrapping of that end, and you're gonna get a much nicer looking edge to your rug. So we'll beat that. I'm gonna try to squeeze that in, get rid of that twine visibility. Purple is easy, we're on shaft 2 raised, it gets to just follow through. And we're gonna do the same thing. So green is staying on top of that purple end, and we're gonna do 2 nose dives. So number 1, pull it back out, number 2. And so same thing here, you can see now we don't have a full 5 ends, but we have 3, which is better than just 2. And as we go, that is gonna make our columns look much nicer. So we'll do a couple more picks. I'm doing my double nose dive when I've got the green shuttle.
So you're only ever doing the double nose dives with the green.
Correct.
Your selvage color.
Yep. And then here we go with the purple. There we go. And we'll do one more here. So a double nose dive. There we go. So far, we had our green shuttle, the one wrapping the selvages, was the one going first. So if both shuttles were on the right, green would go first, then purple. So green was sort of acting as our leader. Let's reverse that. So we're gonna break the green end. And now let's reverse that order. So let's have purple as the leading shuttle now. So we throw our pick like normal here. But now let's have the green shuttle follow purple in that same direction. So we're adding a new end. Okay, and now purple has to go. So we have a couple of choices about how we can manage this. We can go purple over the green or purple under the green. We got to switch sheds, I guess, though. Let's do that first. So in this case, let's try going over. So we can see the purple end is going to go over our green end and go through. And you're going to have sort of this clasp situation, but we want the clasp to be around the back of the rug so that it's not visible. So let's make that clasp happen on the back side, and we'll beat that in. Switch sheds. Now, because the green and the purple have clasped at the back, I don't have to do that nosedive anymore, because the clasp at the back is holding the green end. So it does catch and it will wrap the selvage. Okay, let's go back to purple. We want the purple going over top. And then we want to bring this clasp around to the back so that it won't be visible on the top of our rug. And then we're able to pass our green shuttle straight through without a nosedive because it's going to catch the selvage. Just like that. Let's do one more here. So purple over green. Move the clasp to the back. And green can go through like normal. So you can see that these two effects both create a pretty nice looking selvage. The first one with the looping is a little bit denser and tighter, and the second one has a little bit more give or a little bit more puff in these because they are still doubling, but they're doubling by an effect of a clasp at the back. And so both will work, both will make a nice symmetrical rug, and we'll show you what that effect looks like. So in our dash and dot rug, one of the samples was woven in that second fashion with the selvage shuttle chasing the other one, and you can see it still looks great, but you can see there's like a little bit more poof to these ends, and what you'll see at the back is you can see the clasping creates like a doubling of that column on the back side of the rug, which is fine because you're not going to see it. And if we look at our rug sampler pattern, here's an example of the columns on the front. So you get a little bit tighter look if the selvage shuttle is going first from right to left, and on the back you don't have that same clasping effect, but you end up with kind of like two mini columns here. So both will work just fine and allow you to have a little bit of flexibility when going through the pattern, because you'll have a strategy for both ways, no matter which shuttle is leading the other shuttle. We finished on a shaft 1 raised green end when it was our end wrapping the selvage, but we're going to reverse that. So we're going to switch to shaft 2, and green's going to go again, because now we want our green column to be on the other column. So we've done that now, and we're switching to the purple. So now we've got shaft 1 raised, and we go around and it's going to catch the selvage, so we leave it at that. Okay, and now we have our same situation around what we want the yarn to do at the end. So we're going to want the green now to go over purple. Tuck in here, make sure that clasp is at the back, and beat. Purple gets to go through as is. Green goes over purple. Tuck that clasp to the back. And purple gets to go through as is. And so as you can see, our columns have switched. We used to have green on the selvage, it is switched to purple, and we're still working with 2 columns. They are now just on the opposite ends. And you'll notice that this was the second way that we demonstrated selvage management. So we're not having to loop the ends because The green shuttle, or the one that is not the selvage, is going first from right to left. And then we've got our purple shuttle second, which is the selvage shuttle, going from right to left as well. There we go. All right, so we've gone through some of the most common troubleshooting tips for managing two shuttles and managing your selvages while weaving these two shaft rug patterns. Although this example here looks really simple, these same concepts can be applied to most of the rugs that you're going to see on two shafts. We hope that this gives you, the confidence to get going and try out your first rug or maybe your 10th and keep going, and keep us posted on how they go.